Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the first webinar of the year, How AI is aiding and changing the way we build teams. My name is Helen, and I go by the pronoun she, her, hers, and welcome to the Northwestern Alumni Association's Career Webinar Series. For those of us who have been with us before, good to see your names again. For those who are new, glad to have you join us for the first time today. And before we invite Nick to start, let's go over some housekeeping rules for today's presentation. So on the right-hand side, on your screen, you will see that there's a panel with a few different tabs. So the first tab you will see is the chat tab. So we've been talking on there from the beginning of the presentation, where I've asked you all to just kind of throw it in the chat where you're tuning in from. So keep that going as you enter the presentation room. And then this is where you can talk to one another respectfully, or if you need to chat with me privately, you can do that as well. And then the second tab is the Q&A tab. So that is exactly where you will send in your questions. And we're saving time at the end of the presentation to answer these questions that you have. We have a Q&A portion ready for you. We love questions, so you can send them in now, or you can send them out throughout the webinar. And we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can, depending on the time. And then next is, if you experience any technical issues during the webinar, you can message me privately, or you can email the Big Marker team for further assistance at support@bigmarker.com. And I'll throw that in the chat as well, so you can have access to that. And then last but not least, a link to access the recording of this webinar will be sent to all registrants, whether you attended or not, in about 2 business days. And then now I'm going to share a little bit about our presenter today. So Nick Shah is the founder and president of Peterson Technology Partners, Chicago's premier IT recruiting agency. His entrepreneurial journey began in his teens when he was given the opportunity to manage operations for a local Chicago newspaper. And over the last 23 years, Peterson Technology Partners has thrived through various ups and downs of the industry and earned the loyalty and partnership of countless clients and consultants across Chicagoland. So, all right, before Nick starts, he has a short video for us to watch. So I'm going to play that right now.
Thank you, Helen. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. This video has great examples of how AI is helping us, but it also highlights the shortcomings of AI, especially when AI fails to differentiate between a Chihuahua and a blueberry muffin. Go figure. What I want to do today is to help you get a better understanding of how AI is impacting the business world and how you can use AI to build better teams. Let me start by addressing the elephant in the room. We are all familiar with the concept of artificial intelligence taking over mankind. The moment you hear term AI, your mind automatically races to Terminator, Matrix, or iRobot. Now, I don't know what Hollywood has against AI, but I can assure you making machine more intelligent is not a modern day version of Frankenstein's monster. There is much more to this story, and that's what I am here to discuss with you today. This is going to be our roadmap for today's webinar. I have broken it into 6 different modules to help you understand the role AI plays and will be playing in building businesses and managing teams. I am the CEO of a recruiting firm for the past 23 years. As I'm talking to you, my role is changing and evolving. Despite everything I know and the years of experience I have, I'm aware that I am replaceable. And guess what? So are you. The industry is changing, and the plain truth is that if we have to be ready to change or step aside. Now, let's look at some of the stats from McKinsey. 5% of the jobs in richer countries are entirely automatable, and 14% are highly automatable. Well, that may sound like a small fraction, but by 2030, worldwide, 375 million to 700 million jobs would be made redundant by robots. Now, that being said, such change isn't necessarily a disaster for the economy. While some jobs are taken over by machines, new ones are going to be created for humans. To give you a functional example, if a machine replaces you, you may become its subject matter expert or be the troubleshooter for it when it glitches or shuts down. And this also is guaranteed to happen. The World Economic Forum estimates that by 2026, 12.4 million new jobs will be created in the United States alone. Now, some of them will be directly related to developing, building, and maintaining robots, but vast majority of them will be indirect result of AI revolution. For instance, once robots have automated all the repetitive tasks, the humans can focus on the area that requires personal touch, like creative ideation, strategy, or customer service. Before we get into the details, let's take a look at the current scenario and the challenges business leaders face when building teams today. I personally work with several Fortune 100 companies, and I see their challenges on a daily basis when they are building teams. So let's look at some of the challenges leaders and employees face on a daily basis. Leaders have to make sure everything is in order across different teams in the company. They have to manage different department heads and see that the clients are happy and put out daily fires. The managers have to constantly monitor employees, keep track of their progress to ensure that they meet their daily, monthly, and annual targets. Recruiters and managers have to manually skim through hundreds of resumes a day, shortlist them, schedule them for interviews, and meet candidates face to face. Before pandemic, now video interviews. But there are hours of interview time that is dedicated. In some cases, entire panels are needed to make the final decision. So cumulatively, when you think about it, hundreds of hours will have to be invested in finalizing the candidate. Now, once the candidates are selected, onboarding, training comes into picture, which not only consumes time and energy, but it also requires investment. Leaders, on the other hand, have to constantly upskill their existing employees to make sure that they are on top of their game and to reduce turnover. Even after all this effort, there is a chance that the best employees might leave, or promising candidates don't perform up to the expected standards or fit the team, in which case this entire exercise starts all over again. And this is mentally and physically exhausting, not just for the leaders, but the current employees. Now, I want to talk about another challenge that comes into play on a daily basis, and most of the time unconsciously, is the bias. As a leader, I consider it to be my highest priority to ensure that my employees are happy. They invest more than 8 hours a day, 5 days a week in my organization, for my organization. After all, then it's my priority to make sure they are doing well so that they can grow and the company can grow with them. But I have seen that this may not be the case at every organization. Many companies display bias at various stages of recruiting process. Maybe the resume is rejected because the recruiter didn't like somebody's LinkedIn profile picture, or recruiter feels that the employee's family life may interfere with her ability to perform at work. I have seen at times certain employees are not considered management material because of their special needs or age, or even sometimes professional background. The trickiest part about this bias is that many leaders and managers may not even realize that this bias is deep rooted in their company processes and even their behaviors. Now, this is something leaders need to address before they start losing top talent. This is the instance where machine that isn't humanly flawed and can truly make a difference. The third challenge that comes into play is dealing with human resources. Handling 10 human beings who can think, react, and feel is 100 times more difficult than dealing with 100 machines. There is no success formula or shortcuts here. It's always been a trial and an error process. Even after more than 2 decades of running a company, I am constantly learning more about team management. It's not just about having the capital to invest in resources or making profit. You need to be fortunate to find smart, like-minded employees who share your vision and are willing to work towards it as a team. Sometimes all it takes is a single bad employee or a biased manager to pull the whole team down. Now, this will always be the case as long as teams are made up of humans. Now, to top all these challenges, we were hit with pandemic last year. Now, I want to be clear about the fact that the need for AI and machine learning existed long before pandemic came into being. But as we all know, it accelerated as soon as the demand for contactless and continuous human interaction escalated. As we all know, 2020 witnessed the highest spike of usage of digital platforms to enhance not just the communication, but other key sectors like health, safety, security, education, manufacturing, shopping, lifestyle. But many businesses were not equipped for a complete digital shift, and they have suffered as a result of that. So let's look at some of this in detail. The first roadblock most companies faced was the employees trying to cope up with the sudden lack of human interaction. While working from home once or twice a week or during personal emergency was considered a luxury in the past, doing it indefinitely came with its own set of problems. Most employees found it difficult to stay indoors for days and weeks on end, while some found it hard to be around family 24/7. Others had difficulty with extended solitude without any interaction. Additionally, working from home is not the same as being in the same room with your colleagues during brainstorming sessions or team meetings, which in turn led to a lot of confusion and miscommunication. The second pandemic-related escalation we faced was during lack of supervision. No matter how many stand-up calls you have in a day, it will never be the same as being present in the office and monitoring the work of your direct reports in real time. Another issue connected to this is the lack of motivation in employees. When there is no positive or negative affirmation coming for your work, it is natural to get stuck in a rut. Employees tend to fall in a comfort zone when they know that there is no one to appreciate them or give them feedback on their performance. 2020 was also a year during which employees experienced a lot of anxiety and stress. You would think that without the hassle of getting ready for work or commuting to office, employees have it easy. But the truth is, when working from home, employees forget to take proper breaks or eat meals on time and are likely to be working more hours. This, along with the added pressure of pandemic, has led many employees and leaders to burnout. The third escalation came in the form of loss of talent. According to multiple sources, about 20 million people were unemployed in the US alone in the month of April due to closures of thousands of businesses. According to Washington Post, unemployment skyrocketed to 14.7% in April after 20 million people abruptly lost their jobs. That's roughly twice of what was seen during 2008 financial crisis and has been the highest unemployment level since the Great Depression. Based on Labor Department's data, 5 million job openings were lost in April alone, a 16% drop from the month before, and additionally, actual hires declined by 31% to 3.5 million. Along with this, many companies lost their top talent due to prolonged pay cuts and delayed appraisals. Even decades of progress that we made in women entering the marketplace was erased in months. Let's not forget those who lost their lives due to COVID-19 as well. In all, our economy lost what it took almost a decade to make in just a span of 60 days. Amidst all these roadblocks, technology played an indispensable role in helping businesses run somewhat normally. And a significant chunk of this credit is attributed to AI. The truth is, the world is at the threshold of AI revolution. In the recruiting industry, it's already making a huge impact. This is where applicant tracking system comes into picture. These intelligent platforms help find candidates, filter and score resumes, rank them, and even engage them throughout the interview process. By using these AI-powered platforms, companies like Unilever has been able to automate most of the legacy hiring processes. By doing so, they cut their recruiting process from 4 to 6 months down to a matter of days. PTP is currently developing a smart ATS just like this called Gabby. Gabby helps recruiters at all levels by making them better data-driven decisions about who they are hiring. It uses machine learning and natural language processing to dig deeper into the candidate's skills, personalities, and potential than any human could, and it does this almost instantaneously. When paired with a person who has been trained on the platform, Gabby can find the best candidates with the right technical and soft skills quicker than any person working by themselves. So, moving away from recruiting, AI is transforming workplaces across the globe. I'm sure you are aware of the Google computer program called AlphaGo, which ended up beating the world champion at Go, a Chinese board game that's much more complex than chess. This was an amazing breakthrough. This new development made many businesses wonder if AI could make better strategic moves than them in their field of expertise. If AI could outsmart the Go champion, it can also help indicate the right business approaches leaders should opt for based on the data analysis and smart prediction features. Once AI has interpreted this data, it can issue automated responses based on its finding. Here are some ways AI is already helping global businesses. It facilitates quick problem solving, increases productivity, streamline work processes, boosts marketing, sales, makes even customer service more efficient, prevent fraud, simplifies data, and inspires innovation. JP Morgan Chase is a prominent example of an organization optimized by AI integration. They use algorithms to track employees and check whether those employees are meeting the compliance regulation. There are many companies who even use AI to assess employees' experience and job satisfaction in order to predict whether that employee will stay or resign. This is a game changer in itself. 2020 made us innovate and improvise as much in a single year. It shows that how much we are capable of when faced with a crisis. According to Forrester's prediction, 2020 is going to be your year if you harness technology to enable your workforce and meet customer realities. Let's take a look at some of these trends that will change the course of business or your job this year. Given the uncertainty of the pandemic and the need for isolation, 12% of US consumers will be open to trying extended reality, which includes augmented, mixed, or virtual realities. Due to the string of unpleasant events that happened in 2020, people are more eager than before to experience happiness and comfort in a controlled environment, even if it's in a simulation. About 30% of the US firms will boost their spending on cloud, mobility, network, security, and risk assessment. As expected, remote working will continue to varying degrees even after the pandemic is over. Forrester has estimated a 300% rise in remote working as opposed to pre-pandemic era. Since the dependency on digital platform has gone up in every organization, it is no surprise that the rate of cyber crimes will escalate. 2020 might witness about 33% rise in the insider data breaches. At present, about 18 million people or employees are working from home. About 35% of the companies will be investing in conversational AI, machine learning, and hardware advances to help the workers cope and sustain, if not improve their productivity. If not for the cloud computing, working from home for an entire year would have been impossible. It is thanks to cloud apps, tools, and services that many businesses could shift to remote working model within days. So the final prediction is that the cloud infrastructure globally, the market is going to grow by 35% into a whopping $120 billion market. Now, let's go to the most interesting part of the session. How can human and machine coexist? How can we compete with a machine that is 1,000 times faster and more accurate than us? Well, the truth is, AI is not always right, nor it is compatible with every aspect of a business. AI may be intelligent, but it falters in leadership position as it's not capable of having feelings, motivating the employees, or instilling trust in them. To put it simply, it might be able to inform leaders, but it can never lead on its own. This absence of soft skill is exactly the reason why humans will always have the upper hand, which is why it will be crucial for us to rely on our soft skills in the future. Now, that being said, that brings me to the human X factor. What is our USP, unique selling point? In my opinion, human traits like empathy, creativity, agility, and collaboration can never be outsourced, duplicated, or replaced. AI is intelligent and it can perform functions at lightning speed or give you precision and informed answers to a number of questions. But it does not understand why it's performing those functions or for what those answers mean. It can formulate algo based on data input, but cannot create it from scratch. True innovation, the invention of novel products, services, insights, and approaches will always remain human for the foreseeable future. AI can perform the same function or duplicate the same algorithm a million times, but it struggles to be agile. Take the gaming algorithm, for example. When developers create algorithms to play video games, they can beat international champions hands down. But if you change one minor setting, the whole algorithm crashes. For human, this speed flexibility is second nature, whereas for AI, it's a true obstacle. Same goes for collaboration. A machine can fulfill a repetitive task without supervision, but it cannot do any more or less. It cannot partner with employees, lead a team, or handle sensitive situations like racial discrimination or the loss of a loved ones. Yes, machine can do some things better than us, but not all, not even close. The teams may get leaner, but the human touch is considered vital at every stage of building and running a team. In fact, the more businesses get automated, the more soft skills will come into value at every organization. What I mean to say is that AI is making inroads into almost every other domain. So the only thing left for us to capitalize on it is what is uniquely human. It has been estimated that demand for employees with emotional intelligence and the ability to understand coworkers and identify the needs of management will go up by sixfold in the next couple of years. If this handful of skills, which AI still struggles to grasp, that will help human employees stand out in the future. As much as human beings are capable of adapting to change, they are equally averse to it as well. I have seen this happening in several organizations. Employees are hesitant to try something new or adapt a new technology. It's our nature to resist change or something new or something unknown. But in order for AI to do what it does best, employees need to get over a few prejudices. Algorithmic aversion, it's a technical way of saying that humans in general distrust the finding of AI, even when AI is known to be accurate and swift. This would delay progress at many organizations that are hoping to implement AI. And if the employees are not willing to integrate AI from the beginning, then there is no point of introducing AI at those companies. How can it help when nobody is willing to use the AI system? So, if an organization wants to take advantage of AI, its leaders need to tackle this algorithmic aversion, and the employees need to get on board with the idea of working with the smart machine. Leaders need to educate their team about AI and explain how it works. I'm not talking about explaining the precise calculation or algorithm, but if the employees have a basic understanding of what data programs will do, how it does it, and most importantly, how it can help them grow, they may look at the AI differently. AI needs to keep an open mind and be ready for some experimentation. They should understand that AI can indirectly improve their functionality, speed, and accuracy. Like I have stressed so far, AI will not be removing us from our workplaces. Rather, it will automate trivial and repetitive tasks, free us up to do more complex operations that require our full focus. Working with AI should always be viewed as a collaboration, not replacement. And it is up to the business leaders to ensure that this new employee gels with the existing employees. Overseeing the collaboration between the new employee and regular employees will fall to the business leader. Their task will be to manage new diversity of this human AI workforce. For this to happen, delegation will be the key. AI needs to be integrated with those jobs it's best suited for. Sometimes leaders are hesitant to delegate certain tasks to AI, fearing that it might offend the employees who have been performing the same task. But if leaders can reassure employees and make them see how algorithm can take care of crunching data so that the employees have more time on their hand to be more creative and innovative, and if that happens, AI will be viewed in a very different light by the employees. Employees, too, should be able to look at AI as a collaborator that enables them to do more than they are capable of doing on their own. They should understand that AI can make their lives easier if they are ready to embrace it and use it to their advantage. Take an example of Hyundai Motor Group, West Exoskeleton, or called VEX. Leaders at Hyundai Motor Group designed a AI-friendly workshop for its employees. These exoskeletons made heavy lifting much more easier for employees. augmenting their ability rather than replacing this. And this design even won the Red Dot Award last year, which happens to be the most prominent and prestigious international design competition for innovators. Similarly, every organization should be able to figure out where AI can make the maximum impact. Now, so far, we have looked at the biases human has. Now, let's look at the biases that exist in AI as well. Yes, just because it's a machine does not mean it's 100% free of bias. If you are wondering how can it be, well, when it's designed by a flawed human, the bias will exist in machine as well. It's ironic when an algorithm written exactly for purpose of making objective decision ends up being prejudice. But it is the truth. Bias can infiltrate AI in 3 different ways based on human decision making involved at the back end. First one, assumptions. Well, before the system is coded, the data scientists have to make some assumptions about how it should be or what it should be, which will eventually trickle down into the algorithm. This does not necessarily mean the creators meant any harm to a particular gender, ethnicity, or community. Chances are they didn't even realize that was happening. Training data. All AI models need to be trained. If an algorithm has been historically hiring from the same demographic or has been using the same old job description for decades, the AI tends to learn this and reject the candidates who do not meet the criteria. Third is the modeling. The parameter used in machine learning when it's designed, like gender, age, race, traits, could determine the predictions generated by the machines. Data scientists would also look out for factors that could act as proxies for the race, gender, or places which could alter the prediction. In 2018, an MIT Media Lab study revealed the underlying biases in the face analyzing AI of IBM, Microsoft, and MagV, a Chinese company, when it came to identifying the gender. All 3 systems correctly labeled white men 99% of the time. They consistently missed the mark on the gender of African American women 20 to 34% of the time. While some of these biases can affect people psychologically, certain other instances can even endanger the life of people, especially when it comes to healthcare sector. With that, we come to the final module. Now that we have all understood how AI helps and how it intensifies our ability and automates repetitive tasks, the next step is to build an intelligent workforce that utilizes AI in the best ways. After all the strategizing and integration is done, the leaders must maintain the learning curve. AI integration is an ongoing process. You cannot just do it once and then hope for the best. Leaders and employees have to work constantly to stay up to date. Most AI transformation takes anywhere between 18 to 36 months to complete. Some even take up to 5 to 6 years. To prevent employees from losing momentum, leaders need to take 3 measures. First, assign ownership. Ownership will give you results. If nobody is held accountable for projects, employees will not be driven to do their best. Assign relevant stakeholders who will be able to map out the roles and guide the project from beginning to the end. Second, track progress and facilitate adoption before and after data. Compare the results of the project before and after the integration to reassure employees that AI transformation is indeed making a difference. Be transparent with the figures so that the employees can truly believe in what they are doing. And the last, provide incentive to inspire change. Acknowledge, inspire employees in the long run. Give employees a first-hand experience of how AI can grow their careers by promoting them or giving them perks. Leaders can improve or increase employee performance to a great extent with the integration of AI. A common mistake I have seen leaders make is assuming that AI is plug and play solution. With the assumption they invest millions in software tools, infrastructure, data expertise, only to be disappointed later. Pulling off this transformation is not easy. It requires technology, expertise, and also alignment of the company's culture and structure with the AI. Here are the three major shifts leaders need to make for end-to-end AI integration. First, leaders should move from siloed work structure to interdisciplinary collaboration. AI makes the biggest impact when it's applied across cross-cultural teams that are diverse and inclusive. Second, the hierarchy should shift from a leader-driven decision-making to data-driven decision-making at the front line. Yes, leaders have the experience and authority, but they don't have all the answers. Work gets held up in a leadership-driven environment, owning to multiple rounds of approval, reviews, and rejections. When AI comes into picture, it will enable employees to augment their own judgment and intuition to arrive at better ideas and solutions. The third shift leaders should make is going from rigid processes and risk-averse mindset to becoming more agile, experimental, and innovative. AI enables companies to discard the mindset that an idea needs to be fully baked or business tools must be fully developed before being deployed. AI apps seldom give it all their best in the initial run. It is always a trial and an error process. Getting early user feedback on the pilot version will enable companies to resolve many bugs instead of wasting time on multiple rounds of reviews and then dealing with the more complex, costlier issues in the polished version. Keep in mind, none of these fundamental shifts comes easy. They require leaders to be open-minded, prepared, so they can motivate their teams to adapt and improve. Let me quickly take you through how senior executives can equip themselves the right way for AI integration. Leaders, I understand, are often on their own. They have boards to advise them, but they have no one to train them or to give them honest feedback. This is tricky because the decision concerns the entire organization. I wish there would be a playbook for the leaders, but that is why it's vital for leaders to pull out all the stops when it comes to building an intelligent workforce. Here are the few steps they need to take to strategize for success. Step 1. Foresee the unique barriers that may hinder change. Leaders must anticipate roadblocks from employees who are unwilling to change. For example, be ready to reassure your managers, your employees, that AI is here to help you, not make you obsolete. Step 2. Once you have anticipated the challenge, start budgeting. A recent Harvard study observed that 90% of the organizations that have successfully scaled AI were the one who budgeted for integration and adoption. Leaders should invest in activities that's driven, like work structure revamp, training workshops, open forums, and transparent communication. Also, they should not fall into the common misconception that robots work for free. Robots and AI are very expensive to build, develop, and maintain, and are always at the risk of becoming obsolete. The average industrial robot costs about $100,000 to buy, and to maintain it is about 4 times fees over their lifespan. Third, balance visibility, time investment, and value. Leaders should never bite more than they can chew. Avoid pursuing initiatives that are unduly difficult to implement or require more than a year to launch. This can sabotage both your current and future AI projects. It's necessary to prioritize projects, stay agile, and use varied timelines. This way, automated processes that don't require human interaction can get faster results. Processes that involve humans, like smart customer service, may take longer to create and get the desired outcome. If leaders focus on just single, complicated long-term project, it might discourage the employees due to the lack of immediate results. Step 4. Organizing for scale. Leaders often debate which organization model works best when integrating AI. Usually, companies choose one of these three models. Consolidate the majority of the AI and analytics within a central hub, or decentralize them and embed them into business unit, also called as spokes, or distribute them across both using a hybrid model called hub and spoke model. In my experience, none of these models are necessarily better than the others. The right choice will depend on your firm's individual situation. Leaders need to take into account their organization structure, capabilities, strategies, and unique characteristics before deciding on a model. Now, I want to circle back to where we began. I have covered the challenges business face, how they escalated during pandemic, how AI makes the difference, and how leaders can build seamless AI workforce. But through all this structural, managerial, and intelligence shift, the only thing that will and should remain the same is our humanity. There will come a time when robots and AIs will take over more technical aspect of business, health, security, manufacturing, and fashion. Not going to happen immediately, but it's definitely going to happen in a foreseeable future. At that time, these four C's are what's going to help the humans stand out and control the machines: curiosity, creativity, consciousness, and collaboration. I mean, this might be how we are finally going to reach our full potential. With all the mundane tasks in our lives taken care of, we will have enough time to pursue our passion. This could also mean a shift in educational system, where our kids will no longer have to pursue or battle with math or physics unless they are truly interested in it. And subjects like art, literature, history, and politics can come into spotlight. We know so many prominent figures like Leonardo da Vinci who dabbled into a little bit of every subject because of his curiosity. It's also a known fact that Steve Jobs was inspired to create beautiful fonts for Mac because he was inspired by the calligraphy class that he took in his college days. You never know when the inspiration can strike you and change your life. And with the AI by your side, I can guarantee you that you will be fully equipped to fulfill your curiosity, enhance your creativity, reconnect with your consciousness, and collaborate successfully with those around you, both human and machine. So, folks, that brings us to the end of this webinar. To recap the whole thing, AI revolution is going to happen whether we are ready or not, but that does not mean we will lose our jobs. There are numerous human flaws that curb human productivity in the business world right now. The pandemic has intensified these challenges and accelerated the need for end-to-end business solutions. AI can address most of the challenges by automating tasks like recruiting, onboarding, management, monitoring employees on their day-to-day activities. Leaders need to help employees get over the algorithmic aversion by explaining to them that machines will not replace them, but assist them and collaborate with them. And for leaders to build intelligent teams, the right mental, managerial, and strategic shifts have to be made. Above all, each of us should understand that machines will never be able to replace the way we feel, think, and innovate. They cannot dream or feel happiness or disappointment. Nothing can match up to the human passion or dedication. So buckle up, keep working on your soft skills, and be ready to work with some robotic colleagues within the foreseeable future. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this webinar informative. We are open to any questions you may have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. I think
Thank
one of
you,
my
Ellen.
favorite slides was when you were talking about the replacement versus automation and how, it really takes the leaders and employees and we each have our own responsibilities to make this work and, collaborate together. So really like that aspect. And some of the
Thank you.
statistics were mind blowing. I mean, they were some more, I knew what's going to happen, but like, I think I just learned so much from the statistics that you provided today.
Thank you, Helen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the Q&A portion. So what I'm going to do right now, folks, while we answer some of the questions that were already submitted, I'm going to do my best to have Nick answer our questions. So Nick, I'll read them out loud to you. Let me know if I need to repeat them again. But we'll go with the first question from George W. I would like to know more about the AI bias. How do you completely eliminate it if humans are always going to design them? Have you personally experienced this bias?
Thank you, George, for asking the question. I have experienced that. I see that with a lot of my clients when they are recruiting. What I advise my clients to do is to build as diverse team as you possibly can, because when you bring that diversity into the team, you are not just looking at from one lens. You are looking at that's whatever the problem that you are trying to solve from multiple different lenses or multiple different angles. And when you have different age, race, gender, hopefully you can eliminate some of the biases. And like I said in my presentation, it's a trial and error. You will have to deploy, learn, redeploy. So it's a continuous learning process for both leaders and the employees.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's go to the next question. So the next question is from Yasmin. As a Singaporean working in Germany in the past 2 decades, mostly in the global HR roles, which countries do you think will take the lead in AI in the HR space?
It's hard to say that. I personally believe in coming from recruiting industry and running the company for last 23 years. I believe that we are still in infancy stage. So it's up for grabs. So I don't see that, whether it's United States or any other country. We are at a very early or infancy stages, and we will have to see and monitor who takes the lead.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Yeah, I think so. And Yasmin, if you want Nick to clarify a little bit more, let us know in the chat and then we'll come back to that. But let's go to the next one from Nicholas. Can you comment on the importance on AI ethics from corporate and government perspectives? Going forward from this point in AI technology, ensuring that they're not utilized by bad actors or companies deploying products that have been properly vetted is the primary concern.
Yep. If you read the book, Weapons of Math Destructions, there are examples after examples where it talks about how, having that technology fall into bad hands can generate not so positive outcomes. So again, it's going to go back to the same notion, is that the leaders who are in charge of this AI and machine learning will have to constantly stay on top of it. It's not, like I was saying, it's not one and done. Once you deploy it, you are done. I'll give you my own example. As we are developing Gabby, we are going through so many multiple rounds of iterations. And every time that when we think, oh yeah, we got it, something new pops up. So it's like you have to be constantly be mindful of it and keep working on your algorithm, your system to keep improving it.
Thank you so much. And then the next question is along the lines and kind of a fellow question on Gabby. So Jay asks, you mentioned that your firm is developing an AI platform called Gabby. Can you tell us some of the challenges you and your team experienced firsthand during the initial stages, and were your employees open to making this shift?
Sure. Um, my employees at the company were open to making that shift. They were actually the driving force behind Gabby. Um, and when we put the original team together, these are the developers, designers, and testers that I knew personally. And I have worked with them for a number of years. But when they came to the AI platform to build it, there were a lot of miscommunication. We were working during pandemic. People were not able to see eye to eye on the problem that we were trying to solve. So we had to disassemble, rebuild the whole team from ground up um, to find that different perspective, different angles, going back to having that diverse team. I'm finally proud to say that we have one of the best diverse team I could possibly have building Gabby, so that we can keep all the different angles in mind as we are recruiting, and AI is learning how to recruit.
Great, thank you so much. Next question is, what is your personal opinion of Amazon and AI being used for its operation?
No comments there.
All right, let's go on to the next question. And what would be the best way to sell AI to companies?
I believe is information and educating your customer is the best way to provide AI as a service to your client. Also making them aware that this is not one and done. It's not going to solve all their problems. It's not a miracle drug where you can take it and you will wake up next day and all the problems that you may have at your company are going to be solved. Um, it's going to take time. So whoever your customer is, educate them that this is a journey, and they have to be fully invested to embark on that journey with you.
Yes, yes, lovely. Okay, next question is from Gina. Nick, you started off the presentation saying even you are replaceable. What are the steps you take personally to ensure that your role stays valuable?
In some areas, I can't wait for a machine to replace me. Not kidding you. But to stay valuable, I would like to focus more on the strategy, bring new ideas to the company. If I can handle some of my repetitive tasks to a machine who can does it well, I can focus more on new ideas and actually customer relationship with my clients.
Awesome, thank you. Next question. It's a little bit long, so I'll try to read it a little bit slow. So one of the points you kept circling back to was the importance of focusing on one's soft skills. What about those who are more technically or mechanically aligned? Won't a large chunk of the IT industry move away from the emphasis on soft skills and be more purely technical by 2030?
Can you, Helen, just repeat the last part of it?
Absolutely. So
Thank you.
the last question is, or the last part of that was, won't a large chunk of the IT industry move away from emphasis on soft skills and be more purely technical by 2030?
I don't think so. I always tell all my employees and consultants that recruiting, whether you are recruiting for IT, whether it's doing a developer job, architect job, or a tester job, it's 75% is soft skills, 25% is technical skills. And this is to get through the interview. I understand it's a technical role, so you are expected to do coding, but companies, managers, and leaders' mindset are changing. They just don't want someone who's going to be hands down a developer. They want, again, have their teammates collaborate on the new ideas, new projects. Leaders are no longer looking for like, hey, here's the project, get it done, don't ask any questions. People are looking for everyone on the team, including the leaders, to collaborate, actually come up with some new, fresh ideas on that product, if or whatever they are working on. So that soft skills is actually going to be in more demand than your technical skills.
Thank you. And then the next question is kind of similar to that, but I will read it out loud. And if you have any extra comments you want to add from the
Okay.
previous question, let me know.
Okay.
Previous answers. So the next question is, how can you be sure that just focusing on our soft skills will ensure that we're not replaceable? Aren't core subjects like math and economics and engineering still relevant?
Oh, absolutely. I am by no means saying that we should not learn math or engineering or physics. But what I was trying to say is that you will have a robot that can possibly help you if that's not the area of your focus. If you want to pursue history or economics or do some or learn some other subjects, you will have a smart system that can help you with core subjects like math or engineering. By no means I'm saying is that you should forget about math or engineering and then just focus on your soft skills. Point I'm trying to make is that the soft skills are going to be more in demand. The industry, especially the IT industry, is moving to, like, the new concept, Helen, is low code, no code, where you don't need to work on developing a software for 6 months, 8 months, or a year. You have low code, no code, which will help you deploy your applications much faster. So in those cases, if you have the soft skills, the collaboration, working with others, those skills will make you more valuable, is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And the last question of today, how can we stay on top of developments in the AI field across the world?
There are several blogs. There is one by MIT that I follow. So there are a lot. I read a lot of books on artificial intelligence. The one that I recently read is called Master Algorithm. It's pretty interesting concept, where it's saying that you have an algorithm which is going to keep building algorithm by itself. So it's, the name of the book is Master Algorithm. So read, follow blogs of the people that you like, and you will be able to keep up to date with those information.
And that's the end of our Q&A portion. Thank you all for sending in those questions. And Nick, before we end, is there anything else you want to share with us and the Northwestern Network?
No, I hope you guys found this informative, and there's more to come from us.
Yes, there is, definitely. Thank you so much for being on here and just sharing your expertise with us. And folks, thank you for being here too as well. Wherever you're tuning in from, the slide deck and the recording will be available to you in 2 business days to your inbox. So there's nothing to do on your end. You just have to wait a little bit. But thank you so much for attending this webinar. And we hope to see you at future webinars as well. So until then, stay safe, be healthy, and thank you all for coming today.
Thank you, Helen.